the Wednesday, March 6th, 2019 meeting of the Acushnet Public Library Board of Trustees. We are being audio taped and videotaped today. We do have a quorum. On the agenda, the first item is the Secretary's report, which is the minutes from our meeting of January 16th, 2019. Does anyone have any clarifications to the minutes? Questions, comments? Before we vote to approve, accept? Okay.
Make a motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the budget report. Dina has given us a copy of the expenditures to date.
I'll just point out in the salaries line, you'll notice that longevity has been spent over. And that's all that will be spent from that line this fiscal year, because the 3 staff members who receive longevity, they've all been paid this fiscal year. But I'll remind you that the union contract that was approved in October, everyone in the contract had approved increases in longevity, so we did not know to budget for that a year ago. So, and that's taken care of for the next round, of course. But for this round, we will remain 141% spent over, but we do have plenty in the library tech line to cover that overage, so that will not be a problem for us. And then in the operating lines, everything is about where I expect it to be at this time of year. We've discussed before how building and grounds has been spent out a little more heavily this year. And hopefully, we'll be better prepared for that next year. But other than that, I think everything is right about where it normally is at this time of year.
Okay. Any questions, discussion? Okay. We need a motion, please.
Motion to accept.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Before we move on, I just
Yes.
wanted to make a quick budget note, just regarding the revolving fund, because I just wanted to keep you updated as to where we are with that. As you know, we can spend $6,000 from the revolving fund each fiscal year. That was approved last year, the $6,000 expenditure. This year, we've spent $4,000. We could spend $2,000 more before June 30th. I don't know that we will. I may just leave that there. But I wanted to point out that so far this year, we've taken in $3,600 into the revolving fund. Last year, at the same time, we've actually taken $3 less at the same time last year. But I wanted to point out that we are seeing, due to the automatic renewal program, there's a serious reduction in fine income. And so I just wanted to point that out at this stage of the game for you all, just so you have a comparison. Last year at this time, we had taken in $2,300 in fines. And this year, the same time period, we've taken in just under $1,900. So it's a $400 difference in what we were taking in last year for fines. Our fees, we're seeing an over $300 increase in fees. I think that's because we're doing a lot more printing. There's been a big increase in our printing income. And as far as lost books go, we've taken in about $100 more in lost book charges this year versus last year, which is still under $400. It's not a big source of money for us, which is good because it means people are returning the material from us. But I just wanted to point that out because we hadn't really talked about that recently, and just so you have a sense of where we stand with that.
So maybe the printing,
I'm sorry?
printing, what was that, just before the 100 for lost books?
The printing, well, in the fees we call it, which is printing and fax, we're seeing an increase in printing of about $300 over last year. But that also includes faxes, but the increase is from printing, not from additional faxes.
Okay.
Thank you. You're welcome. All right, next on the agenda is a discussion of the draft of the circulation policy that Tina has worked on and provided to everyone to take a look at.
Again, I'm sorry that I did not send you the complete draft. I don't know where the time has been going. There are some weeks or days that I feel like I'm more behind now than I felt 4 years ago when we were getting ready to relocate here. So, because that's how busy it is. So, anyway, I'm sorry for not doing that completely, but I will definitely have it done by the next meeting at the end of the month. And again, like I had mentioned, there's not essentially everything I sent you is what we're already doing. It's just not formally in one document. So that's really what I'm just looking to do is get it all into one document so that if staff have an issue that doesn't come up all the time and they're trying to remember what the answer is, they know where they can go look. Or we can also point it out to patrons if patrons have questions that come up. And we'll have one document they can show them. So it's really, as we talk about it, there's only one thing I think that is something we don't do now that I would like to do, but everything else I've sent you so far is what we're already doing.
Okay. Do you want feedback from folks?
Oh, I would love feedback, yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
On the first page,
Yes.
available holds, the third
Mhm.
bullet from the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
no less than 1 week. I thought it was no more than 1 week. That-
They're now,
Because when they call, they always say, we'll hold it for 1
Yeah.
week.
so that's not exactly how it's going now. It depends on the day of the week that you receive the hold. This is a new
that's
thing.
true.
So if you receive the hold and if we received the hold here on Saturday,
Right.
it didn't used to account for Sunday.
Correct.
It would be from Saturday to Saturday. Now it accounts for Sunday, which is a close day. So you actually get it, the hold is here until the following Monday.
Gotcha.
And so
Okay.
that's
So
so
that
that
makes
you
sense.
are getting a complete week that includes closed days, not, and, you know, they initially got brought up by the network when we were still closed on Fridays, and because we did hear from patrons, I received the hold notice on Thursday afternoon, you're closed on Friday, I can't get to you on Saturday, I can't get to you until possibly
Saturday.
the next, right, so it wasn't a true week for that person.
Mhm.
So to accommodate all that, the network was able to negotiate with our provider, the catalog provider, so that we could get a full week. So some people are seeing that their holds are here for 10 days. So it's also accounting for holidays. We're closed Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, let's say, but your hold arrives on December 23rd. It used to only be here to December 30th. Well, now it's here into the new year, that kind of time. So it just makes it a little more equitable for everybody. So it's now no less than normal.
Right.
We're not really broadcasting that to people, but if you get the notice and you see, oh, it's there until March 12th, and that's 10 days from now, that kind of, people will catch on that that's what's happening.
Yes, I noticed that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, a new thing.
One question
Yep.
on the fines. What are the fines? There's an automatic renewal. You don't bring back after the next 2 weeks, is that it?
So the automatic renewal isn't guaranteed. The staff and I just had a big conversation about this. If an item is on hold,
Okay.
even if there's only one hold on that item, and there are 30 copies sitting somewhere else sitting on shelves in other libraries that could potentially fill that hold, when the system goes to renew the item, if it sees that there's a hold, the system is not smart enough to say there are 30 items sitting elsewhere. So it does not renew the item because it's seeing it as the first available copy.
Okay.
So we are seeing that people are getting the notice your item is still due in 3 days and they don't return it. So you're still getting the fine. We're also seeing that, the book did renew 2 times. That's the maximum that a book can be renewed from our library. It did renew 2 times and they still didn't return it on time. So it's...
They own
No, they don't own it at that point. They don't own it for like 3 months. So that's why, the fines will never go away unless at some point the Board of Trustees decided to eliminate the fines altogether.
I did see something, didn't I? The
Yes.
fines are 5 cents a day, correct?
Depends on the item,
For books.
for books.
Yeah, it looks like 0.5 there.
Okay, so you want me to stick in a note.
0.0.
Yep, got it. Thank you.
I guess same for audiobooks. and-
Yep, I'm going down the line. All right, good, thank you.
You probably don't have the cent symbol on the computer
No,
anymore.
there isn't a sense. I'm sure there's a way, like F1 and control or something at the same time. I'm sure there's a way to do it, but the O will work. The 0 will, everyone will know what that means. Thank you for calling that. Thank you.
That was all I had. Looks good to me.
Now, I'm glad you brought up the auto renewals though, because this has been a little bit of an issue. It's great when it works the way we want it to work, but it's a computer system, so it doesn't always work the way that we want it to work. So we are encouraging patrons to, download the mobile app if they're so inclined to use apps, because then you have easy access to your account in the palm of your hand, on your mobile device, and you can be checking that every day to see what the status of your due dates, is. You can call us, because if we're able to get into the system and figure out a way to renew the item for you, we will. So, don't take the human factor out of it altogether. You can give us a call and we can try to do what we can to help with that. Or you can also easily log on through the catalog at home with your library card if you don't want the app. Another option is to just try to get onto the catalog and try to renew it yourself. Because once another library fills the hold, if there's only one hold, then your item is fair game for renewal. But the system's only trying that one time. It doesn't go back and try multiple times. So, anyway, somebody brought that up. Yes.
Another
please.
question.
Yeah, no,
Sorry.
please. That's
No,
great.
I'm just
Don't be sorry.
curious, what happens with homebound deliveries? Now, somebody takes it to them and then picks it up?
Yes.
So
So
they-
either I contact Heather at the
Mhm.
Council on Aging, and she coordinates a driver through the council to make it so that that person comes here, picks up the items, delivers it to our delivery patron. If they have any returns, they bring the returns back to us, and if not, they do get an extended loan period. It depends on.
That was my question.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
good.
It
That's
depends.
good.
I make the call on that each time
Right,
we're
you
sending
gotta be
something out. It
flexible,
depends
sure.
what the items are, and I just
Mhm.
modify the due dates
Right, right.
depending on the patron or what they have.
Excellent. Excellent. What a good system.
Can you explain the ADA accommodation? Maybe a specific example. I wasn't really clear on
Sure.
what that covers.
Well, I think it's really important for people to understand that if a child cannot write his or her name, that does not mean that they can't have a library card. So I think that that's a very important thing to get out. For years, not only at this library, but at a lot of libraries, that was the stipulation. If you could write your name, you could get a library card. Well, there are plenty of people who cannot write their names, and I'm really trying to get across that that's not a factor for us. If you can't write your name, or if your child cannot write his or her name, then we will figure out something that can go on that card as a signature. An X, a circle, something that just is on there, or the parent writing the name on the card, if that's, an option, which I'm sure it could easily be that way. So it's in there. I've noticed other libraries, Dartmouth uses similar language in their circulation policy. West Bridgewater uses similar language in theirs, and I think it's really to highlight that anyone can have a library card. If you're in kindergarten, you're 5 years old, there's no reason why you shouldn't have a lot. You're learning about responsibility, what it means to, borrow something on your card and be responsible for it. And regardless of whether or not you can write your name, shouldn't be a stipulation. If you're in 5th grade and you still can't write your name, doesn't mean we don't want you to have access.
So this is both for the staff and patrons
It is.
to view?
It is.
Okay.
Oh, for sure. It's
Okay.
for patrons also.
It may help just to clarify
Okay.
that, and just to add that, it's for children and or parents or guardians who are disabled to assist them in getting a library card.
Okay.
I realize it's within section C,
Okay.
but it did throw me because it was on the next page, so I wasn't
Okay.
100% sure.
Okay.
And the others, the children's card sections, they do specifically reference in order to receive a library
Okay.
card. So that may help
Okay.
for people.
I'll use that language.
And then I was wondering, would we call the children's cards ages 13 through 17 young adult or youth? We do have the young adult section.
We do, but young adults is real. Well,
I wasn't sure.
I mean, I think young adult is something, because you're not gonna, a lot of, the young adult terminology in libraries, I think, became more of a thing like 10 years ago or so, because no one wanted to be called a teen. So you were changing teen sections to young adult sections. They're really not adults though. I mean, a young adult is 18, 19, 20, 21. When you think of young adult, the true definition of a young adult. So do you call them teen cards then? I'm not sure. I mean, they're still technically children. They're under 18. They're still technically juveniles.
Yeah.
So do you call it juvenile instead? I mean, I know we do call it, we sometimes call it the teen section too here. We're not, I always typically refer to it to the young adult, as the young adult section, but that's because that's how I was brought up as a librarian. It's young adults, because I came in that fad. But we could certainly call it something else. This is the one part of what I sent to you that we actually don't do right now. We actually do, if they're under 18, their parent is required to come in with them. But we're starting to see a lot of people in this age group who are being dropped off by their parents, and they're coming up to the counter and asking us questions on their own, and their parents aren't here, and the parents come back to get them, and the parents don't want to come inside. So if we're telling, you have to come in with your mom or dad, or maybe it's grandma or grandpa who's dropping them off and then picking them up, and that's not their legal guardian, so someone who can't sign for a card for them. So I'm just trying to give a little more flexibility to that, which is why that's in here. But we could certainly call it, if you don't want to call it, we could call it youth cards. Sure. Yeah, I think it was for just lack of not wanting to necessarily call it young adult.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a new term that's like coming, like the new young adult is something you read in the media now, and again, that's like 18, 19, 20, 21, that age group, college age, which and maybe we're not calling it college age anymore. I don't know.
No, I like that,
But
you, as you said, use the word flexibility, and I think that's great to be able to address the needs of everybody who comes in the door.
Right. Most kids under 12 are not coming in without their parents, but we do, and it's not a ton of them, but we are getting young people who are coming in who are teenagers who are just being dropped off, and they do have their student IDs with them, which we can then use as an ID, and it's or it also would be helpful with class visits.
Yeah.
If a child comes on a class visit and doesn't have a library card already, and mom and dad aren't here because they're with their school, they're here with the 8th grade class from board, now we don't have to say, well, you're gonna have to come back later to get a library card. So, but youth works, so we'll call them youth cards.
And I think too, Dina, especially now where all high school kids have IDs, for
Right,
years back
right,
they didn't, and
right.
I'm not sure what happens at the lower levels, if they're giving out IDs to the middle school kids, but
They do have it.
where kids all have IDs, so you easily can give a kid a library.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Sounds good.
Were you
Are they physically all, the cards are all the same? They look the same?
Yes.
In other words, you don't have a different collar for,
No. Nowadays, it's one library card for whatever age group. There's nothing different for the kid. There's not a kid's card or.
But I think if it was different, the kid would know he'd own that card.
Right.
He'd know he'd have a little.
He knows he has, right.
Yeah.
But we do check before we
Yeah.
process any new card. We'll ask, have you had a library card before? We'll hear no, and we check, and well, it looks like you have had one before. And we get that with adults all the time who, I had that years ago in Easton, and they didn't realize that was, the same network. And we do sometimes see that with kids. And so then usually what happens is they've lost the card, so we just issue them a replacement card, and we're done. So, but you're right. Yeah, presumably they would know that whether or not they have it, but that doesn't always go that way.
No, but he would have his own.
He would have his own
It looks
already.
different than Dad's. or
Right,
Mom's.
that's true, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you suggesting maybe we get that
I
sometime?
don't know if that's possible.
Oh, anything's
Oh,
possible.
anything's possible.
That's an interesting idea. I'm gonna keep that in mind. Maybe the friends would help us out with that, wink wink.
They're not very helpful these
Oh,
days.
please! I can't even believe you just said that. Please.
You'll pay for that.
What else have you got for me? I'm sure there's other things.
That looks good, Dave.
Please, any questions you have, please ask. I didn't give you the lost damaged items section F yet, but I will discuss something about that right now. How it works right now with the lock, after 3 months of an item not being returned and the patron being sent multiple reminders that they have the item, the system does automatically set the item to lost. And the patron gets a final notice saying that the item is lost. And if they choose to come in and pay for that item, they're paying the face value of the item, and we also charge them a $2 processing fee. Not all libraries charge the $2 processing fee. And in fact, oftentimes now I'm encouraging our staff to waive the $2 processing fee because we're not necessarily paying face value for an item when it's lost. A lot of times I'm just happy the person has walked in and they're willing to pay for the lost item, because we lose a lot of patrons who have lost items that don't want to come back because they can't afford to pay for their replacement copies. I mean, for most books you're looking at $25 maybe for the charge plus the $2 almost seems to add a little salt to the wound. So I am going to ask that we just get rid of that $2 processing fee altogether. Also, times have changed. We're not processing. All of our books come covered. That didn't used to happen in the past. They all come with the plastic on them now, unless it's a donation and we have to, have staff cover it. But all of the books that we order through our vendors do come wrapped. The stamps do not cost them. The stamps that we're stamping with, the labels are all very inexpensive. It's all covered in the office supplies line of our budget. So I'd kind of like to take the $2 processing fee off because it's not costing us $2 to process items. I'm sure there was a time when it was costing $2 and the staff time spent to do that was costing money, but that's not the case anymore. And a lot of libraries in the network are dropping that $2 fee. So I would like to drop the $2 fee also, and that means that the network would go in and remove the $2 charges off of any existing lost items in the system right now. So I am putting that out there for when we meet again, something to think about.
I know we've discussed possibly looking again at the loan period for things. Is that something you want to do with this one? Because we'll have to look at this again at a future meeting.
Right. Now that we have the automatic renewal program in place, I don't really know if we need to adjust our loan periods. We aren't hearing from people, and our patrons are having a lot of success with the automatic renewals of our material, especially before. I think people felt, well, DVDs I'm only getting for 1 week, and I'm taking 10 at a time, and maybe I need 2 weeks. And now they are really getting 2 weeks on a lot of those items, because especially the newer titles, maybe not so much, but the titles that are 6 months plus older, I think are seeing those renewals happen automatically. So I'm hesitant to give 2 weeks on DVDs for that reason. And same goes with the music CDs. Actually, the majority of our music CDs come back very quickly, so I'm not sure.
No, that all makes sense.
But-
Since you have the automatic renewal
Right.
now, you don't really need to
It
expand.
it doesn't seem to be as big of a thing as it was before. People aren't commenting on it as much or anything. So I mean, at some point we could, but for now, I'm comfortable with the 1 week on the DVDs now.
Sounds good. Any other discussion on circulation policy draft?
I will have it finished for the meeting at the end of the month.
Okay. Thank you, Dina,
Oh,
for
thank you.
working on this for us.
Thanks.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Next agenda item, announcements related to library programs and services. And if I can just say, there were a number of highlights in your director's report. The Friday hours have been resounding success, so I'm so glad that that continues. And the information about the website, I did take a look at the new format. It looks really nice.
Doesn't it?
Yes.
That's great.
I'm like, it's been viewed in 30 days. It was like the past 30 days on Friday night, it had been viewed 377 times, and I think
Not that you were
376
counting.
times. No, I think 376 was me and Elizabeth because the two of us have been so like,
Checking.
wow, look at that. Who knew we could do this?
Yeah.
And it does need some tweaking, like I said, but I didn't really even realize like how antiquated the site looked, and it wasn't an old site, but I didn't realize how old it looked until this one. Now I'm like, wow. And if you look at it from a mobile device, I think it looks really great. So I'm very, very pleased, and really Elizabeth and Sandra were excellent assistants with that. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Good. Well, congrats on that.
Thank you.
So, does anyone besides Dina have announcements about upcoming programs, etc.? All right, I know you have some.
Of course I do. Of course. I wanted to point out from my director's report that we do have New Tech 1 starting on Monday, March 11th. So she will be joining us. We're very excited. We'll be a staff of 10, which
Double
who
digits.
thought that would happen? So really excited about welcoming her. The other big thing that I was really excited about is, well, yesterday Elizabeth and I went to Library Legislative Day at the State House, and we didn't get to meet with either Senator Montigny or Representative Hendricks because they were both tied up at those times. But we did speak with their aides, and we had some really good, positive conversations about the fiscal 20 legislative agenda and how we're using state money to fund our libraries and to assist with the funding of our libraries. So it was really nice, but the best part about it for me was that I was able to take Elizabeth with me, who, as you may remember, is in library school right now. She'll, by the end of the year, will have her master's in library science. And it felt really nice to be able to take sort of like the next generation of librarians with me to something. That's the first time I've been able to do that. So I think that was the best part of it for me. And today and yesterday, Bethany, who's our children's room assistant, who's also by the end of the year completing her master's in library science, she's at a STEM workshop that's sponsored by the Rhode Island Library System and NASA. So she's doing these really awesome science workshops and, sort of getting ideas for programming here, which will tie in with our summer reading theme, which is a universal stories this year. So really, that's another proud moment as a fellow children's librarian to be able to send our children's room assistant to her first time experience a conference-like program. So that, as a director, that feels really awesome. So I don't think, I thought that would happen ever. So here, so I'm really proud. I mean, this library's made leaps and bounds. So anyway,
It's important for the staff to go
it is
outside the library, make connections up at the State House, and learn professional development,
Right.
expanding your skills, abilities, bringing it back here is super important. So I'm glad you're doing that.
Even the networking with other librarians and finding out, hearing firsthand what other libraries are doing and what works and what doesn't in other libraries, just to even have that face-to-face connection. Elizabeth hadn't met most of the sales staff up until yesterday, and she gets emails from them all the time because we're always communicating by email with sales network staff, but now she's able to put some faces with those names and vice versa. So even that part of it, it's a huge deal for professional development, I think, and in confidence in what we're doing, as professionals here. So it really is great. So. And Bethany's been very excited out, and she's in Cumberland, Rhode Island, and I keep getting text messages of the different things she's working on. So it's fun.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah. So a couple other updates. The heated walkway is not working. We know that now for sure. It's not. So I haven't gotten in touch with Andre Louis yet to discuss that with him, but it's definitely not working. think the system that he implemented is working, but the system, the element is not working. But the town's been really great about coming over to shovel us out, and over the past week is really the only time that's affected us. So we've been really fortunate with a mild winter. I think a few weeks ago when we had some snow and I was all excited that the walkway's working, I really think that Town Hall had put so much ice melt on the walkway that's what was working, and it wasn't. Yeah, it was not the walkway itself.
Do you still have to shovel that yourself?
No, Town Hall this year has been really great. We've
They're
been able to
shoveling for
coordinate
you.
really well with them. I had a little scare on Monday when I got here at 9:05 and it hadn't been shoveled yet, and Diane was just about to come out to start. And I said, let me make a phone call real quick, and within minutes they were here to shovel for us. Because now it's not just the front walkway and the staff entrance, it's also the ramp and the walkway, the stairs, the walkway leading down. And our custodian's only here 12 hours a week. That's been my bone about this all along, and I need her indoors. In a pinch, sure. She's more than willing to do the outdoor work, but that's not in that job description, so any longer. So anyway, they've been great. Jim Merritt's office is really good about responding to me when I call for that kind of thing, and I really appreciate that they come over and they do it much quicker than I do it.
I don't think that's
So no,
something
that's
you
the
should
answer
have
to that.
do.
I haven't done it. I haven't had to go pick up sand or ice melt either this
Excellent.
year. So that's
We're happy.
we're heading in the right direction with that, which is great. The other thing I did not include in the updates with building stuff because I just got the call, but Pioneer Basement, you may remember 2 years ago, came to do our dehumidifiers, and apparently they like to do a maintenance check every couple of years, and so we were on the list for a maintenance check. Or annual, well, they called it annual servicing, but nobody called about this last year. But I think also they had left us, well, I know that they left us replacement filters when they installed the dehumidifiers, and those are supposed to be changed every 6 months or so. So maybe that's why they didn't come last year, because they had left filters. But anyway, they would like to come. It's $194 to service both of the dehumidifiers, and I said yes. I'm just so hopefully that's okay with you. They're going to come in April, and so that way we can make sure that those stay functioning as well as they have been.
Yes.
So, okay, good. So that's happening April 2nd, I think.
What was the price?
194 for two. And then I'll also just say the window sash in the study room B has been replaced finally. Jim Merritt sent 2 of his staff over to take care of that for us. The Fairhaven Lumber had gotten us the replacement sash, but then they came and installed it. It looks great. Hopefully it stays intact. And the front hall light is out, as I've mentioned. And Rise Engineering is working with Jim's office to get a replacement. It's under warranty, which is why Jim really wants to get it through them and us not to use someone else to get the replacement. And we're turning on extra lights so that that's not a real problem. At least not for, for temporary, it's okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
About the study room,
Yeah.
any painting necessary with the window?
No, it
Okay.
was just this, like, they called it a sash. So it really, you can't even tell. Like, I wish I had been here when they were doing it, because I would have loved to have seen what they took out and how they put it back in, and nothing looks different aside from the fact that there's no longer a crack in the window.
Okay.
So it looks nice.
The sign is still up not to open the window.
Yeah, we really don't,
Because-
because that's how I think it
Yes.
broke in the first place, was from the window being opened. So we're gonna change that to also say if you need some assistance with temperature control, to get the staff in, because we can also, as long as it's working, try to do something in the HVAC system online to either lower the temperature in the room or increase it. And I'd rather, if the window needs to be open, I'd rather it may be me or someone else who's in charge trying to open the window, so that if something happens to it, I know who to blame.
I think it's the nature of the building.
It
Because
is,
we had a
right.
window we could never open. If we opened it and it wasn't closed properly, it literally fell out.
Right, we have a
Right.
few like
Right.
that, and
So
yeah, I
you
think
do
that's.
need to, nobody should open the
Right,
windows.
right,
I mean,
So.
we have AC, we have.
right. And if the, you know, the HVAC's, you know, it's a little temperamental, but
Right.
I'd rather us give that a try before we're
Opening
forcing
windows.
windows open and
Correct.
stuff.
It's an old building.
It is,
Mhm.
100 years.
Yeah.
End of the day. And then real quick for programs, Monday, March 11th, we have travel writer Peter Mandel here to discuss going to extremes. He does a lot of extreme travel, so he'll be here to talk about that. On Wednesday, March 13th, Brian Murphy will be presenting his book, Adrift, which is a local story. Hopefully people will stop by. March 25th, Jeff Bellinger, who has a PBS show called New England Legends, will be here to present New England Legends. A lot of paranormal info. I think will be a fun night. And Sandra has launched a adult program, new adult program for movies. We have a movie license. We're trying to take advantage of it the best we can. So it's called Tuesdays at 2. It's the fourth Tuesday of the month. And we had a great turnout at the end of February. I think it will be able to morph into something that's really run by the people who are coming to it. In other words, they'll get to choose the movies. They had a list to choose from at the last meeting, and they chose the movie Black Klansman for this coming month, so that's what they'll be watching. I wrote 2/26, but it's 3/26. It's a March movie. So anyone 18 and older is invited to come on Tuesday, March 26th at 2 p.m. For a movie, a little discussion about the movie. You can bring some snacks.
Did you
Cup
have
of
any
coffee.
people?
We had 4, which in
That's a
January we
start.
had 0. So January was none.
Maybe if have 8.
February, Sandra did a really great survey. She put out a really great survey. We shared the link in our February newsletter. She got a good response. So we had 4 come in February. And there's a lot more interest than that, too. It's just that a lot of people have commitments. You know?
Mother.
And it could have been
I don't
mother.
remember that
So
day, but-
it was okay, I think, but who knows? I mean,
But 4 is a good start.
it is. It was great. We were thrilled, especially because in January nobody came.
Zero.
So
That's good.
so 4 seemed like 1,000. And you know, we'll see. You know, I would say if like 5 to 10 people came for something like that, it would be a great thing to see. And if it's successful, then we might, you know, do a little bit more. Maybe we'll do an evening, like we're doing this at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, maybe we'll show the same movie at a different time, like in the evening, at a different time of the month. So it's got potential to grow. The Acushnet Farmers Market is doing 3 indoor markets at the Council on Aging, starting this Saturday, March 9th, and they invited us to have a table at the markets where we can promote the library and our different services, and so I said yes. I really appreciate them including us. And they also asked us to do story time, which we sometimes do in the summer at the farmers market. So Bethany will be joining me at the council on those 3 Saturdays, and she will be doing story time at 11 a.m. So this coming Saturday, March 9th, we will be there.
Story time.
Story time. For the kids who are coming to the farmers market, yes. So
Okay.
parents can bring their kids with them, and while they're, you know, seeing the different vendors at the farmers market, we'll read to the kids.
Is it going to be the first?
I
Second?
think it's the second Saturday
Second
of the month. So it's March 9th, April 13th, and then that must be May 11th. 17th.
So is it something like 10 to?
It's 10 to 2. 10 to 2. And we'll be at the, you know, I'll be staffing the table from 10 to 2, and then Bethany will do the story time at 11. It'll probably go for no more than 45 minutes, I would think. The story time part, at least. And we'll see. So I'm looking forward to that. And then some of the other staff may join me at the table also, so it'll be fun. And lastly, our new state rep, Chris Hendricks, is holding office hours here at the library. I think we talked about that last time, but he will be here on the second Saturday of every month, at least through June. So he is here March 9th from 10 to 12, and really anyone who wants to stop by, even just to say hello, you're more than welcome to pop in, say hello, introduce yourself. He's a great person who I think really has a Acushnet, in mind when he's up at the State House. So I think it's important to at least say hello to him.
That's good. He's spending part of his Saturday here. So
Exactly.
That's terrific.
And he brought munchkins last time, so maybe he'll bring munchkins again.
And you ordered a replacement of a flagpole?
That can't happen until the ground is thawed out,
That's
so I
right.
can't imagine, thank you for mentioning that though, but I can't imagine that's gonna happen. I'm gonna say, let's think June will be when that ends up happening. Hopefully it will be in before the 4th of July, that would be nice to see, but I'm thinking, in my mind, I'm thinking June will be.
Maybe we should start calling it April.
Yeah. Oh, I'm on it. They know. They know. They're very fancy now. The one that we did have was where you had to pull the ropes and tie it up a certain way. But now apparently they have the ropes are inside, and you have a key that you unlock it, and you press a button, and it lowers itself, which I'm just fascinated by. So in fact, when they came to take the flag down during that storm when the flagpole had tipped over, and they came to take the flag down, at least one of the staff members from town hall came in and said, "Where's your key?" I was like, "The key for the basement? Like, what's he talking about? The key? Like, what key do you mean? The key for your flagpole? There's no key." So he had never done that with the crisscrossing of the rope and then the pulley. So anyway, so he learned something new, and so did I.
Do you know if it's battery powered then? If you push a button and
I'm
it
not
operates
sure.
it?
That's a good question. Yeah, I didn't ask that much. I just know that there's.
Because if it has to have a power source,
Yeah.
then we have to think about that.
Right, good point. All right, I'm gonna add that to my.
That's one good thing about just having the ropes.
Right.
That's the only thing that can break.
Because then
You
you're
don't
not
break the
right.
poles.
That's
So,
a really good
And
point.
the pole broke.
Yeah,
For sure.
right. All right, I'll find out about that.
Okay.
Good point. All right. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
A comment about the
Oh, sure.
circulation. We didn't talk about this, but I am so impressed with the numbers from February
Me too.
a year ago. I mean, that's such an increase. That's
It is. And again, you gotta remember the auto renewal is a thing now.
It's helping.
It's certainly helping, but that's not all that's doing it, I mean, 'cause you'd really have to get down to the nitty gritty of how many items are actually being renewed. We don't know how many of those items would have been renewed anyway if it weren't for the auto renewal. We can't, there's no way to know that. So can we credit the auto renewal for some of it? Sure, but I really don't think we can credit the auto renewal for all of it. When we'll find that out is a year from now when we're comparing, this time to a year from now, and then we can get a sense of how much was auto renewal and how much was just an increase. But I've got to tell you, this place is like packed. I mean, even if you look at the program statistics, I mean we offered 7 more programs in February of this year than February of last year. That's 100 more people who came to those programs. I mean,
It's quite a bit.
I think our programs are really building up quite nicely, and I think people are expecting a certain something from us with the programs that they attend. So, I mean, I really, it's, every time I think it's about to level off, it doesn't. So, so I just hope it doesn't level off. I hope we keep seeing these kinds of
We've
increases.
seen steady growth, steady
We
numbers over
have,
3
yeah.
years, so I don't think all of this is auto renewal
It's not,
at all.
it's not.
It's a factor, but people love this library.
Yeah, they do, which is awesome. I mean, come on, kids don't read. That's 3,000 book checkouts. Who do you think's reading those books?
But also the
Come on.
parking.
Oh, the parking makes a huge difference.
It makes a
There's
big
everything about, like, I feel like I never wanted, like, I'm not knocking Russell at all. Like, and I think everyone there did the best that they could with the space there. But there was nowhere to park and there was no accessibility. I mean, if you had 3 kids, you couldn't get into that building. And never mind if you had a disability and actually couldn't get in. But it was physically difficult for a mom to attempt to go into that library. And then when she got in there with her 3 kids, what did she do with them? There was nowhere to go. So, I mean, there was just, everything was so crowded. I mean, you all know that. So I know I'm preaching to the choir, but it's also because of no disrespect to what happened there. I think, that staff in this building would have made the same thing happen here that we're making happen here now. It has nothing to do with those people or any, the material they were purchasing, nothing. It's that here we've got the space. I mean, you can come in. We had 23 kids at story time this morning, and with their caregivers, their parents or grandparents. We have a lot of grandparents who come to story time. And, they come in here for story time, and then they hang out in the children's room for half an hour or an hour. Sure. I mean, we could never have done that at the old building because
Absolutely not.
there's just no space, and no one wanted to hang out in that basement. So, like, even if you brought toys down there, no one's hanging out down there. But here, they can go into the room. They're playing on the early literacy computer. They're playing on the train table. They got the Lego table. They're making puzzles. They're reading in little groups. I mean, it's so cute. But it's just because we have the luxury of this place for them to park when they get here, and then the physical space for them to be in the building. And then other people can still be in here too. We had, plenty of adults on the computer at the same time. People coming in and out to check out books. So 4 staff vehicles, so I mean that's, it's night and day from what we had before, but the numbers show that. I mean, it would have been a shame if all this happened and then nobody came. But that's not what's happening, which is wonderful. So
They were waiting.
yeah, they were, and now look what they're getting, and it's Acushnet residents, and it's also residents of the greater community, which is nice too. That people who live in New Bedford and Freetown and Lakeville are able to come here and enjoy Acushnet and enjoy this library, and then they go home and they tell their friends and neighbors about the great library in Acushnet. So it's sort of a win. It's not just a win-win for me or you or the staff. It's a win-win for the town that they have this lovely entity here.
Now, I know we have to talk about our next meeting. Before we do that, I know we have a calendar fundraiser going on right now.
We do.
Through this end of this month, can people still purchase calendars?
Yes.
Okay.
Even though the drawing has begun, Nancy has started. She's here daily to pull the winners. Even though that's begun, people can still purchase calendars because we're only on March 6th.
Right.
And there's
Plenty
only
of
been
excellent prizes left to give out.
yeah, there's 21 prizes in total.
Correct.
And we've only 4, so there's still 17 chances.
Right. For
to-
$10, you
for
could win a
$10.
$25 gift card to a local business, restaurant, pizza place, hair
Nice.
place. There's a lot of good
More
gifts.
than once, too.
More than once,
That's
yes.
right. Your
yeah.
ticket goes back in. And it's the really great part of it is it's $10 that goes to the Friends, and the money that the Friends raise, that comes right back to the library. So that supports, I mean, the 3 authors we have coming in March, that's all paid for through the Friends, and that's paid for through things like the calendar fundraiser. So those programs might not be happening if it weren't for this kind of fund.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful, thank you.
Thanks for mentioning.
So we have a tentative date? Is
Yes.
that correct? Okay.
Yes, and I'd like to make it official.
Okay.
March 27th at 4 p.m.
And what day of the week is
That's
that?
a Wednesday.
Okay. Does that work for everyone?
Yes.
Okay. Then our next meeting will be Wednesday, March 27th at 4 p.m. here in the community room of the library. If we have no other business, I need a motion to adjourn, please. If we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. This Wednesday, March 6, 2019 meeting of the Acushnet Public Library Board of Trustees is officially adjourned at 4:47. Thank you.